Good morning, everybody. Morning it is. 5:32 a.m. on September 1st. Unbelievable. We are in September. We've got the Ask Me Anything happening right now. Got the questions called up in front of me. Okay, got my answers. Good questions as usual. And I tell you what, it's like I say all the time. There's some things that you can plan for and predict, some things that you cannot. Got this little Jewel is still asleep in the other room. Good. But, we've got 3 kids total, and one of them last night, I don't know what was going on, but that young man was in our room and out of our room more times than I can count, and it made for a relatively horrific night's sleep for all parties involved. So thank goodness that today is a rest day, but so goes life, right? And that's why we've got coffee. Let's dive right in. You don't want to hear me chattering about nonsense that doesn't apply to your life. So, first most upvoted question from ML. If someone wants to heavily increase his or her cardio ability and endurance, what would be your recommendation to add or adapt to the Linchpin programming? Hashtag asking for a friend. This is great. I think this is also the wonders and joys, maybe that's a great way to say it, of cardio and running and endurance. I think were highlighted in a lot of people's heads from having recently, we just finished the 5K challenge. And so I think that sparked everybody, because that's exactly why it was the first challenge. A 5K run it's so bloody simple and effective, but easy to avoid and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, ML wants to know how to increase his or her cardio ability and endurance. Great question. I've certainly got thoughts on it, and I also struggled a bit with whether or not I should let a cat out of a bag. I'm going to let the cat partially out of the bag. It may pop its head out, maybe a bit of its torso, potentially one paw, but I'm not going to let the entire cat out of the bag. Then I'll stuff it back in the bag. I'm not promoting animal cruelty, but So I have been working on, I mentioned this, it's a dedicated, basically a program for people who want to improve their running. And I, without again letting too much of the cat out of the bag, partnered with somebody on it who is top tier in this particular realm. And we've got it basically done. As a matter of fact, yesterday I finished filming all of the content for my side of the program that's needed. So this will be running plus CrossFit workouts. It will be a 10-week program for somebody that just totally wants to immerse themselves into that world. Really darn proud of it. So now that content is all filmed and everything's created, we've got to work with the BTWB team and get it put in the right format, make it look beautiful, create an ebook and all that kind of stuff. So the hard part's done, content's done, and now it just needs to get formatted and put in a beautiful, presentable way. So hopefully that's going to make an appearance before too long, but I can't say exactly when the release date is. But like I said, I'm luckily the heavy lifting for that project is finished. So, but in the meantime, allow me to give some other things which will be helpful for that question. Oh, God bless coffee. Black coffee, straight black coffee. Okay, here we go. So with regards to improving your cardio, your endurance, things of that nature, it's important to realize that everything we do helps these goals. Everything we do, even if it doesn't look like running, everything we do, if you've been doing CrossFit for a while, we operate at a high heart rate darn near constantly. It's also, I'm already on a bit of a tangent, it's also important to realize that this was one of the things that confused me so greatly when I first got into CrossFit. I didn't understand the methodology. And it's also important, what I didn't understand as well, is that generally speaking, this is an oversimplification, okay, but it's valuable. Shorter, higher intensity efforts have a carryover that gives you ability to go longer at a slower pace, but the opposite is not true. So if you do, and by shorter I don't mean like 2 and 3 minute efforts. I mean, in general, the workouts that we do on a regular basis, it could be anywhere from a 3-minute to a 15-minute workout. That has carryover to going out and doing something 30 to 45 minutes at a lower intensity, but the opposite is not true, which is why when we live our lives doing couplets, triplets, singles, respecting heavy days, and then suddenly somebody goes out and does a 5K, the overwhelming majority of people can actually do that and do it quite well. You might want to improve, but do it quite well. But then you have a group of people that I used to be in, quite frankly, that lived in the going long world. And just by its definition, that's generally going to be a bit of a lower intensity, so longer and lower intensity. And you live there all the time. And then you suddenly try to do shorter time domain, higher intensity workouts, classic CrossFit couplets and triplets, and you implode. The capacity that you built going longer at a lower intensity does not translate over to couplets and triplets and classic CrossFit workouts, but the opposite is true. So that's why we spend most of our time doing what we do, because it has the carryover there. And that's also one of the things when I came from the military, we're just, if you're in the military, you're an involuntary endurance athlete, whether you want to be or not, at least in my community. Run, long, all the time. Swim, long. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to do a lot of it. More is better. And that's when I first looked at CrossFit back in 2005, and I was going to get involved with this program because it became recommended. I looked at how infrequently there was like a classic run workout. I'm talking like a 5K run. It was like, I don't know, 3 times a year, maybe. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I built up this endurance for so long, and now I'm going to run a 5K 3 times a year. I'm going to fall out of shape immediately. This program's silly. It doesn't work. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, there's these 400-meter runs that are in a cute workout called Helen or something like that, but that doesn't even come up that frequently. Then we're doing Cindy or deadlifts or Grace or something else. Like, it's not even like you can count on a 400-meter run in a 3-round workout 2 or 3 times a week. Can't even count on that. My endurance is going to be in the trash. I just didn't know what I didn't know. Of course, that's not what occurred. I didn't realize how much cardiovascular and endurance training was hidden in the CrossFit methodology on a regular basis. But there has to be a pump the brakes on that as well, because it also depends upon where you came from and were you heavily biased to one side or another, right? So when I was doing nothing but running constantly in the military, and then I did CrossFit for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, well, if I went out for a 4-mile run, was I running exactly as fast as when I did nothing but do that all the time? No, it's not magic. But I had the ability to still go out and put up a pretty darn good 4-mile run. Again, it wasn't the time when I did nothing but that for my whole life. But what confused me was I had the ability to go out and put up a pretty darn good 4-mile run without ever really running 4 miles. I was like, how the heck does that work? That was the part that confused me. Okay, so that was tangent number 1. So let's talk about, before the running program makes its debut, what are just some general recommendations to help this individual out with their question? So like I said, everything we do helps these goals, but everyone is a bit different. Okay, because there are people doing nothing but the workout of the day, and they just go out and they're like, I can't believe how great my endurance is, it's just here. But everybody is a little bit different, and that's okay. And then some folks find that they need just a bit more of a push. And this is going to relate to a question down the road about how there are things that all of us benefit from, but still all of us are slightly unique, and that's why knowing yourself is so important. All of us are going to benefit from going below parallel, pulling overhead, intelligent variants of loadings, rep range, time domains, movement patterns, all that kind of stuff. But then even given that, you might have an area that's just unique to you, It's your sticky point. It's the thing that you got to give a little bit of extra love or attention to really move the needle. We've all got those things, and that's okay. And endurance might be this individual's. So let's see. I would say if you can tolerate it, to add 2 sessions a week, okay? Kind of think of it as optional accessory work if you want to. And if it worked, you could replace one of the weekly workouts depending upon how important it was to you. But let's say that you just wanted to add 2 sessions a week that you would categorize as optional accessory work. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that you can tolerate it. So for those 2 sessions that you're going to choose, I would say, even though you're fired up, start with less volume and less intensity than you may initially desire, and then listen to your body from there. How does it treat you? Are you tolerating it well? Does it mess up your sleep? Are you too sore? Is it affecting your other workouts? If you're happy with the questions to all of those, keep the 2 sessions, and then you can gradually, if you want, increase the volume of those sessions and increase the intensity. So what I would do for 2 sessions a week, I would do it, generally speaking, this is simple but effective, 1 short session and 1 longer session. That's how I would break down those 2 extra sessions per week. And ideally, there'd be a couple days between each of them. Maybe it's a Monday and a Friday is when you do them. One I would have be a sprint, and for the other, I would stretch it out. Either stretch out the time domain or the distance and keep it at a conversational pace, at least to begin with. For the sprint style workouts that you would do once a week, I would make a nice list of those, and I would just start ticking them off, rotating through them. And it would be such a long list that by the time you repeated one, 12 weeks might go by, and that's enough time to actually move the needle and get some adaptation, and so that's great. And think of all the different ones that we do, and you could go through the Linchpin website or Instagram page or be on the whiteboard and just start writing them down. So off the top of my head, for runs for short, you could do 10 by 100 meter dash, 8 by 200, 6 by 400, 3 by 800. Of course, we just did those glorious mile repeats yesterday. All that would fall in there. Death by row, death by calories on the bike, death by 10-meter shuttle sprint. That amazing borderline religious experience we all have on the bike every now and then when we do 12 calories for the men, 8 for women every 3 minutes for 10 cycles. 5 by 500 meter row, 3 by 1,000 meter row. Get on the bike and do 50 cals, 40 cals, 30 cals, 20 cals, 10 cals, with ample rest between each one of those. You can keep it up. And I would, if you've got running, bike, and row, I would also rotate through that, right? So maybe week 1, the short thing is a run. The long session is a bike. Next week, the short session is a row. The long session is a run. The next week, the short session, they could rotate through that too, so you're getting this nice little bit of variance sprinkled in there as well to keep your body and your mind interested and engaged the whole time. You could also do some interesting things, be it on the track, on the bike, or on the rower, where you could, let's just keep it simple. You're going to get on the bike. You're going to pedal for 1 minute, 45 seconds, whatever you want. You're going to rest 3 minutes after that. And for that 1 minute of pedaling, at least maybe in week 1 where you're not sure where you're going to be, let's say you're going to do this, let's just say 5 times, okay? You're going to keep the cadence on the bike at 60 RPMs for 1 minute. Rest 3 minutes, do it again. You can do that 5 times. Next week, or whenever that comes up again, you're going to keep the cadence at 65 RPMs or 70, whatever makes sense for you, depending upon how that first one went. If you are successful in doing that, the next time, you're going to bump it up by another 5 RPMs, and you're going to just slowly find where is that razor's edge window for you between heaven and hell, and just going to hang out there for a little bit. That's something else that you could do. So it's darn near limitless. And then for the long sessions that you would do each week, they could be long based upon distance or time, whichever worked better for you and met your needs where you are. So, and you could vary that as well. So let's say you're going to go by times, okay? Long times. Well, maybe, and again, depends upon what's a long number of minutes of running, for example, for you, but you could have one session that's a 15-minute run, and then the next is a 20-minute run, and then a 25-minute run, and then a 30-minute run. So they're all between 15 and 30 minutes, but you're going to rotate through those, so it's not like every single time you're running the exact same 20 minutes or whatnot, or biking 20 minutes or something. Like I said, or you could play that same game with distance. So I think that would help. That would be a great place to start. 2 sessions a week, one long, one short. Make those lists. Running, biking, rowing, rotate through them in a nice, intentionally laid out fashion, and I think that would be quite helpful for you. So, good question. So, next one here is a fun one. Okay, this is from Brandon B. So, Brandon asks, let's see. This is a question that Adrian asked a little bit ago. Let's see. So, Brandon has been doing the limited equipment option, dumbbells, for 3 years. And he basically wants to know, what's a good show of strength using dumbbells? Is it Bulgarian split squats or 10 reps? Is it overhead press, etc., etc.? I realize these things can be a bit more individualized, but I'm interested in what you feel is a good show of strength in terms of dumbbell usage. First of all, Brandon, let me say, the fact that you have been using dumbbells for 3 years, I don't know what your deadlift is, what your 1 rep back squat is, what any of that other stuff is, but I'm here to tell you, you are a ferociously fit human being, both mentally and physically, because you've had nothing but dumbbells in your hands for 3 years, and you, right off the bat, are an honorary member of my zombie apocalypse team. That's fantastic. Dumbbells are amazing. But let's just, I'll try to keep this simple, because there's a couple simple things that absolutely, pop into my head for this. So right off the bat, if you were looking for one thing, one metric, I would tell you death by dumbbell thrusters. Let's just stick with that one, because you need it all, right? Do you need to be strong to get a good score on death by dumbbell thrusters, especially with a pair of 50-pounders for the men? Yeah, you're not going to make it very far, because those 50s will bury you. You need to be explosive with that hip drive. You need to be below parallel strong. You need to have leg stamina and endurance. You need to have shoulder ability to finish the drive and press those things overhead. It's a big range of motion. You have to have some good flexibility, and you absolutely need lungs. You need engine. So for this wonderful question, if we just looked at one thing, let's talk about death by dumbbell thrusters. And we're talking about a pair of 50-pounders for the men and a pair of 35s for the women. If with those said loadings you make it to, I see Original Lucas says, dumbbells for 3 years is insane. Right? If you complete the round of 8 on death by dumbbell thrusters at the previously said loading, you are a capable human being. Okay? There's no question about it. I can't imagine you facing anything in everyday life that you will not smash. Number 2, I would say if you complete, what's funny, he says he completed death by dumbbell thrusters. Sorry that I asked. Completing the round or minute of 10 reps is a heck of an accomplishment. A huge accomplishment, okay? Anything from completing the round of 11 or onward. So if you complete the round of 11, and I don't care if you don't get 1 rep into the round of 12 because you just black out and fall on the ground. Completing the round of 11 is in just beast category as far as I'm concerned, unquestionably. If you complete the round of 12 or more, scientists will most likely want to examine your body when you leave this earth to see what's going on. I know that's we're having fun with a bit of hyperbole there, but truth be told, for one movement, one workout, one thing to assess a tremendous amount of capability and strength in a human being, those scores on death by dumbbell thruster, They're not going to treat you poorly, I'll tell you that. I've seen some people go north of 12 rounds on death by dumbbell thrusters, and I also know what those people can do in a whole bunch of other workouts, and they're animals. It's just one of those things that it translates, it speaks to other capacities. So getting to 8, solid. 10 or more, heck of an accomplishment. 11 or more, you're a beast unquestionably. 12 or more, you're from another planet. You're from another planet. So that's what I would say for death by dumbbell thrusters. A lot of movements with dumbbells are tough without question, but obtainable with patience and time. You mentioned shoulder press as well. Shoulder pressing a pair of 50-pound dumbbells for reps is a feat of strength even if it's not one singularly tough barbell loading. You're a capable, strong human being. If you don't have to just push press those, you can stand around and shoulder press them. But let's get to some of the other things that you said as well. Bulgarian split squats. If you can do Bulgarian split squats, 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps with a pair of 50s in your hands, you are strong. Period. End of story. I'm not even going to sit here and try to act like I'm something that I'm not. There's no way that I can do 4 sets of 8 to 12 Bulgarian split squats with a pair of 50-pound dumbbells in my hands by a long shot. When those come up, because I happen to be doing the limited equipment option or whatnot, there's a bunch of things in the limited equipment I'll do with the 50s, doing some dumbbell squats, some bent over rows, some power cleans, some whatever it happens to be, some single leg stiff-legged deadlifts, and then the Bulgarian split squats come up. I set the 50-pound dumbbells down, I grab the 35s, and then I struggle with them. I struggle. Those Bulgarian split squats are so hard with a set of 35-pound dumbbells that I will frequently not be able to get like a set of 10 to 12 unbroken on one leg, 2 or 3 rounds in it. I'll have to stop, shake it out, question my life choices, and then, finish up the reps. So if you are at the point that you're doing your Bulgarian split squats with a pair of 50-pound dumbbells, wow, yeah, you're a very strong human being. Now here's something else that I would say, and I don't know your situation as to where you live, an apartment, out in the country, etc., budget, things of that nature. You could live in a small studio apartment in New York City where space is very critical. But if you had the opportunity to purchase one more set of dumbbells, even if you could purchase one dumbbell, you could do a lot with it. Maybe a set, if you're getting good with the 50s, a set of 60s might be significant, right? Because at first it doesn't sound like too much, like 50s to 60s, but that's a 20% increase in loading. That's no joke. It's like going from a 200-pound barbell to a 240-pound barbell. It's a decent jump, let alone if you went up to something like 70-pound dumbbells or something like that. So if you could get a set, great, or even just one more would be great, because maybe if you had one dumbbell that was a 60 or a 70, you could use that single dumbbell, if that's all you could get and fit in your place, for power snatches, for single leg stiff-legged deadlifts, for bent over rows, for all kinds of stuff. If you could get a pair, fantastic. Or maybe if you don't have it, you've got that pair of dumbbells, maybe that pair of 50-pound dumbbells, maybe you could get yourself just a single 70-pound kettlebell. You could do a ton of the previously mentioned movements there with that 70-pound kettlebell. And you could do kettlebell snatches and swings and all that kind of good stuff as well. So that might be a really good thing to look into. And if you did that, let's say that you just got one dumbbell, okay? And you get a single 70-pound dumbbell. You went for it. Well, then what you could do as a general guideline is you could just do some simple rough back of the napkin math, and I scratched it down just to paint the picture as to what you were used to doing with your 50s and now what you could do with your new 70. So let's say one of the workouts was going to be 100 power snatches, dumbbell power snatches, 100 reps total. 100 dumbbell power snatches with a 50-pound dumbbell. Well, for simple math, let's take 100 reps times 50 pounds. 100 times 50 equals 5,000. Now we're going to use, that's the general amount of work, so to speak, way overly simplified, but general amount of work that would happen in that workout. So we're going to take that, 5,000, and now we're going to divide it by 70, because that's your new shiny dumbbell. And 5,000 divided by 70 comes out to 71.4 repetitions. So you could do 71 reps or round down to 71 or do 72 reps. But point being, you could take that workout, look at it, and now you look at your new 70-pound dumbbell and you go, okay, I would have done 100 dumbbell power snatches with the 50, did some quick math. With my new dumbbell, 71 reps is going to be perfect. And so you could make it work relatively easily, even if you did get a new object in there. So yeah, that's that. All right, good question. Final question is from Manny S. And this relates back a little bit to the first question from ML, where ML found that they wanted to get a little extra attention on their cardiovascular endurance running because that was just an area that they needed to improve on as a unique human being. Well, Manny S. has an area as well. So Manny says, from my personal experience, I find that some movements for me are just kind of use it or lose it kind of a stuff. Examples would be strict pull-ups and strict handstand push-ups. Yep, they get programmed every now and then. They're certainly in some accessory work, but I find that I need more volume and exposure in order to maintain them. As a result, I incorporate these two movements into my accessory work 2 or 3 times a week. I was wondering if there is a better way to go. So what you're talking about is exactly what happened with question number 1, right? Like ML, after doing doing programming, their little area of kryptonite is just cardio and endurance. That's their kryptonite. And so that area of kryptonite for them that they've identified needs a little bit more love and attention if they want to keep it at a desire that's acceptable to them. And if you have found that, for example, strict pull-ups are one of the things that, we can stick with that one, that is your area that you need to give a little bit of extra love and attention to, or they require a high degree of maintenance for you personally, no worries. And this is also why everyone is a bit individual. I mean, I'm the exact opposite. We're doing the same thing, and I'm here to tell you that strict pull-ups, for whatever reason, are just something that stick with me, and they're always kind of there, and they're always quite decent. But everyone's just a little bit different. In contrast to the first question about running or endurance from ML, which they need a little bit of extra love and attention to maintain that cardiovascular endurance. Oh, we just saw this happen the other day. Nick B, who's very active in the Facebook page, one of the admins, and I saw him on her as well. Nick B is certainly not that person. Without doing really anything extra in any way, shape, or form, just maintains fast runs, ridiculously fast runs. I would be dying for those runs, right? So everybody is just a little bit different, and if you expose yourself to good, nice, varied programming, what that will allow you to do is see where are your little individual areas of kryptonite that you can give a little bit of polish to. So I think you're absolutely on the right track, Manny, and I would give, the advice that I would give to you is strikingly similar to what I would give to ML with the first question there. And it sounds like you're already doing it. If you touch it 2 times a week, spread out with a couple days between each, I think you're right where you need to be, and I would give the exact same general guidance that I did with ML with the cardiovascular and endurance, meaning I would, let's just take the pull-ups example to play with. I would write down on a piece of paper all the different ways that you could attack that problem so that every single time it comes up, you're just not doing, 4 sets of 8 strict pull-ups, 4 sets of 8 strict pull-ups every single solitary time to try to help your strict pull-up capacity, because variance is truly a beautiful thing. So, off the top of my head, you could have 3 to 4 sets of strict pull-ups. You could have chin over bar holds, static. You could have ring row days. You could have bent over rows. You could have days that you do strict pull-ups, and when the strict pull-ups hit failure, you then do another immediate set of kipping to just kind of build that endurance on there as well. You could have that same thing happen if you have access to bands, where you could do strict pull-ups to failure or near failure, and then have a band just at the ready. Get yourself into that band, not one that's so full of tension that it'll slingshot you into orbit, but it gives you a little bit of extra assistance that maybe you can squeak out now with the band another 6 or 7 repetitions, 8 repetitions, and then you play that game with some rest between each. Again, point being, the variance would be your friend. Unquestionably, variance would be your friend. And also, not just that will help you get to your goal faster and more efficiently, but it will also keep you mentally engaged as well, because we don't want your training to get stale. And anyone who's at home, all of us have one of these things. We're human beings. It is what it is. It could be strict pull-ups are your area that you just got to touch them a bit. Could be a handstand walk. It could be your running. It could be your L-sit. It probably is everybody's L-sit, right? Like there are all these things, and if you do want to give them a little bit of extra love or attention, I would use the general guidelines that I mentioned. A couple sessions a week, scratching down how you can do it, attacking it with many different points of variance, having those 2 sessions each week separated by 2 or 3 days, and have those 2 sessions be different, and have that rotate through several cycles over the course of several weeks, so that you don't repeat the same session for a little bit, to give yourself as many different ways to attack it as possible, and then by the time you readdress a session, some time has gone by and you've given yourself the ability to kind of get some adaptation in there. So hopefully that's helpful. Just some housekeeping. I believe that's the proper term here. So we're in September, and so this is going to be the next Linchpin challenge. Is going to be test number 1. We're starting with 1. Next week will be next month, will be test 2. The month after that, test 3, etc., etc. So what's cool is we just had for a workout this week Linchpin test 7, right? That barbell bonanza. Well, now at least for a challenge standpoint, test 7 is going to be 7 months from now. So if you just did test 7 as part of the Linchpin programming, if you decide to take place in that challenge, it's coming up 7 months from now. So we'll see how it goes. But test number 1, 400 meter run, Fran, but at a reduced loading, 75 pounds for the men, 55 pounds for women, but still 21-15-9 of thrusters and pull-ups. That's what I mean when I say Fran for test number 1. So test number 1 is 400 meter run, Fran, 400 meter run, Fran, 400 meter run. My apologies. Optional fun event, quote unquote fun event, right? For all of us psychos out there. I'm working on the shirt for it, and I'm working on another piece of swag. If somebody's interested, won't say what that is yet because it's not done. Working on the design, and you can do it just totally for free. Just do the darn thing if you want. Put your time on BTWB, or you can get the shirt if you want to get it. So try to make it as easy as possible for everybody. No video necessary. It's just a fun event. And then other thing I want to say, the Rogue Invitational. I can go ahead and confirm to you that I will be at the Rogue Invitational end of October this year. I will be working the Rogue Invitational, but the powers that be that I have spoken with, while I will be working, there will be times during the day, unquestionably, that I will be just hanging out, mingling, and able to interact with people. And then once the work day ends, we can all sit around and just chat and tell war stories and have a blast and get to know each other. So if anybody from the worldwide Linchpin community is going to be at the Rogue Invitational, I'm very much looking forward to meeting you. Looking forward to grabbing a cup of coffee, sitting down somewhere in the stands, and just having a blast. Should be cool. Let's do 1 or 2 Linchpin shoutouts, and then we'll close it out. Let's see. All right. Let's do, this one is called The Power of NFT. And that's not a non-fungible token. NFT is not for time. The power of not for time. Okay. This is from David M. And this was actually just posted yesterday regarding Linchpin Test 7. Sometimes the not for time option is helpful halfway through a workout. I was doing Tuesday's workout, which is Test 7, a workout with a weight that I've done before. I finished 2 rounds and missed the next clean. I gave up. I stopped the clock and logged it in BTWB as just 2 rounds. After a couple minutes of rest, I decided to see if I could do more. I was able to slowly complete the final 2 rounds. I learned today that when I took away the pressure of the clock and stuck with something that I could go beyond the limits in my mind. Super cool. And that's all related to what we're talking about on a regular basis, right? Like the not for time option every now and then. Still finished that workout, still did a bunch of power cleans, front squats, and went over to head. Yes, was it with this mind-bending intensity that would have been there had he just dropped the hammer from the first round, never stopped? No. But he did that for 2 rounds, and then he faced a fork in the road. Call it a day, not do anything else, go inside, or gave himself a few minutes and said, you know what? Maybe I can finish this thing out. And got in a bunch more power cleans, a bunch more front squats, and a bunch more shoulder overhead. That's useful, functional movements on your body. That's all money in the bank. Fitness deposits are being made. Another brick in the wall. So, good stuff. Okay. This will be the last one. This one, I actually remember what this is. We'll stick with this one because we'll end on some humorous purposes. And it's also about Test 7. Which we've spoken about here a couple times. So Test 7, if you're unfamiliar with it, all the Linchpin tests are on our website. But it's a 205-pound barbell for men, 145 for women. Don't worry, scaling is cool. Scaling is your friend. But the prescribed workout is 4 rounds for time of 4 power cleans, then 4 front squats, then 4 shoulder overhead. Good night. It's a bruiser. I did it the other day, and you're absolutely right that I scaled it. But Ralph C. has a phenomenal review of Linchpin Test 7. So allow me to read it if you need a good laugh. Here we go. Ralph says, "What the holy heck was that? I was planning on going RX. I warmed up to 185 pounds and thought, nope, let's stick at 185 and hope that I survive. I record most workouts, so it's easy to detail my fall from grace. Number 1, first round. First round completed in 1 minute and 18 seconds. Quick singles on the cleans. Unbroken squats into 1 push jerk. Then 3 push jerks. Nice, but I was already tired. I picked up the bar again at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Second round took me 2 minutes and 20 seconds. The clock now said 4:28. Slower, but I was okay with the pace. Also, I didn't pick up the bar again until 5 minutes and 38 seconds has gone by. Round 3. Round 3 took me 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The clock now said 8:30. I was exhausted and questioning my life decisions, including building a garage gym. I could not pick up the bar again until 10 minutes and 36 seconds. I had to leave the garage and get some fresh air. The gym was hot and stale and smelled like horse stall mats. I could not catch my breath. Round 4 by itself took me 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Slow singles, unbroken squats. Failed my second push jerk and needed a full minute to feel like my shoulders could bang out 3 more. This was horrible and terrible, presumably programmed originally by the devil himself. It's the sweatiest I've been all summer, and I 100% loved it. Would recommend." I mean, this guy needs to be a writer for a living. It's just fantastic, and Ralph is vocal in the Facebook community, the Linchpin private Facebook group, and his posts always put a smile onto my face. They are interlaced with humility and humor. So I loved his review of test number 7. That's pretty much how I felt when I did it, and I think other people had a similar experience. But that's it. Another AMA in the books. We're in September. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk later.